Thanks for coming. I'm Leilani, but you can call me Lei. I'm with Covalent. If anyone's heard of us, you might have seen me or been in Discord with me. We do a whole bunch of hackathons. We are a free API for blockchain data, so if you are unfamiliar, I'm actually going to walk through a little bit of what we do today and then how you can access it as well, and actually demo some of our docs and the API requests that you can make. So yeah, let's get into it. So here, I'm going to start off a little bit, I think we have 20 minutes, about the Web3 data trends and challenges that we've seen. So being an infrastructure provider and participating in a lot of hackathons is a great way to actually see what's like up and coming and what a lot of developers are building, and where we can actually provide data for that space. And then a little bit about the Covalent API itself, how to access on-chain data, and resources and demos. So first, I think it's pretty clear if you're here, crypto has had a pretty massive year and adoption's definitely on the upswing. So something that we notice at Covalent is this intersection between fintech and crypto merging, and those big companies getting involved in the space. And with that comes a big need for data, and it's not always the most accessible thing to actually extract data from the blockchain, especially for people that are just checking it out for the first time and don't really know how to run a node, for instance, or host their own infrastructure. We also seen a big NFT boom, huge brands getting into the space, like I guess most recently Adidas and some of those that make headlines. And with that, there's also quite a few data challenges around NFTs. So mostly, you're able to find that info on things like OpenSea, which we saw couldn't always be reliable. No hate to OpenSea, I love them. But yeah, NFT booms and government initiatives. So it's getting more and more legitimate kind of by the day to actually adopt crypto. And with that, we're definitely not anywhere near the resources to support, I think, what we'd call mainstream adoption. And part of that is the lack of like a really solid infrastructure layer. So just on the right, there's a little graph of the kind of adoption curve of some historical technologies like, or not historical, but big tech booms like cars and the internet and stuff. And Bitcoin is like on the far right on the bottom. So we really do have a long way to go. So at Covalent, we kind of like to think about what the next 5-10 years looks like. And we typically go with 2025. And so we sort of see millions and actually I think billions of critical information on blockchains, not just financial by any means. This can be like medical records, supply chain info, really anything that can be on chain. Dozens of single-use and multi-use blockchains. So we are really, really believing in the multi-chain future. And with that comes its own challenges, because if you interact with DeFi a lot right now, then you'll know that it can be quite a pain to like bridge your assets from one bridge to another, one chain to another. You don't have your information in one place. So there's a lot of ways to go in terms of cooperation. And then thousands of applications and, my screen, and billions of users. So yeah, basically we're working on a data layer that will be able to support like exponentially more people than we have right now, because I know this seems like a busy conference, but really back in the real world, it doesn't feel like that many people actually know what we do. So the two kind of major problems that come with, I think, scaling and working towards adoption is this data interoperability challenge. So basically that goes back to blockchains and applications being able to work together. So you're not necessarily going to only interact with one chain. Most of you probably aren't already, because gas fees are high on one thing, we move to another. And there's different chains for different purposes. So with that, you need to be able to transport your data, transport your assets, and just understand how to go between the different ecosystems. The other challenge is just the amount of data that is on chain. So it's really, really difficult and actually complex to pull that out. Maybe some of you have experience with that, but it doesn't stop after building a transformation engine. You have to maintain it as well. And especially with the rise of more non-EVM chains, it's quite a challenge to figure that whole system out. I kind of like to use the analogy of grocery stores. So like, familiar with EVM chains, it's kind of like going into a grocery store chain that you already know. You know where the general layout is, you know where the labels are, you know what food you're gonna get. But if you go to a different country, that's like a non-EVM chain, it's built completely differently, you don't necessarily know where to find things, and that can be a challenge for indexing or for any applications that are built on those different chains. So what is the Covalent API? I hope you enjoy my emojis in this presentation. I had to make it a little bit visual. So basically, we're one solution to access all on-chain data. So it's a single unified API. What that means is we pull data and we run nodes across different blockchains, currently 28, but you actually only have to use one API and you can change the parameters to switch in between. So that main parameter that you switch between is called the chain ID. And basically that enables you to take your project across any of the different chains we support. And we're queryable from the cloud. It's a no-code API. We actually have an analyst mode as well, which I'll go into a little bit more in depth in a second. But really, it's kind of the API for the multi-chain future. So if you're building anything that you want to be interoperable or you want to transport across different protocols, I would check us out. So where we fit in the crypto stack, the foundation layer is, of course, the blockchains, and then you have nodes, so the means to access all of that data and actually be able to extract it and use it in meaningful ways. But if you're a developer, or if you're especially a new Web 2 developer potentially coming into this space, and you're focused on just creating the applications, creating things to support the user base, you don't necessarily want to be running your own nodes or taking on all of that extra cost yourself. So Covalent sits as kind of a middleware data layer in between the applications and extracting data. So we take on the cost, and then we basically just provide you the API that you can quickly focus on user applications like wallets, NFT galleries, taxation tools. We like to say one API, 1 billion possibilities, and that's how we support kind of scaling. So our two main user demographics are, of course, developers, but within that, there's a broad range. So I think we've seen at this conference, too, we have some experienced people that have been developing in Web3 for a really long time, but we also have more and more people that are just graduating or maybe checking out blockchain data for the first time. And yeah, they want easy tools with tutorials and ways to quickly kind of understand the data set a little bit better. And we also see a lot more analysts popping in. So one feature that we recently added to our docs is an analyst mode. So you can actually download all of the data from our API in a CSV format as well. So it's really useful for building sort of dashboards, any analytics tools, or just getting rapid insights into the blockchain data. So here's a couple of the projects that use us. Currently, we have over 15,000 developers and about 500 plus projects using it. It's actually really great to be able to see some of those people for the first time in person at this conference. So if you work with us or if you're familiar, definitely come up and say hi. And if you have questions afterwards too, we're right at the start of the second floor. Our booth is right there. So I'm going to just mention a bit about our bounties, just in case anybody is here building, because we're offering basically $25,000, both for virtual and in-person hacking. So if you use any of our endpoints, you're actually eligible to get some of these bounties, and it ties into the broader tracks as well. So our number one is actually our NFT API endpoints. So NFTs, as I mentioned, had a really big year. We actually hosted a NFT workshop a couple days ago where you can use our API to battle out different metadata points and make fun little like Pokemon-esque builds. So I would check those out. As well as our log events endpoints we have another bounty for, and then a catch-all for anything else you want to use. So I'm going to show you a couple of our resources, actually. The first one is our Covalent Docs. So this is our knowledge base. This is something that we're focusing on a lot to build out tutorials, how-to guides, and recently we actually started launching more code templates. So these are templates that our team builds that are really easy to just like fork and modify and build out yourself. And then second is our API reference page, which I'll demo a little bit for you, but you can actually try everything directly in the browser. So again, if you're here hacking, you can see exactly what those responses are going to look like, and it makes it really easy to get started. And third, if you're on Replit, is our Covalent Replit, where you can find even more of those templates. Oh, not yet. I'm going to demo those. Sorry. Okay, so when you come to the docs, it's basically going to look like this. It's covalenthq.com/docs. And then you can see a couple of our developer tools over here, just an overview of the API, everything I just talked about. And you can also find our supported networks here. But I think what this is a really useful tool for is the project showcase. So even if you're not a developer, but you want to get a better idea of the space and what people are building, we kind of batch it into these different categories like DEXs, NFTs, analytics tools, things like that. And you can actually go through these, and you can click on any topic you're interested in and see what some people have built in the past. So we just like to keep a record of like cool hackathon projects, and it's good for inspo that way. And then if you go down to our supported networks, I'm just going to click on Ethereum because it's first, but you can actually see more info on those networks, how to interact with them, and which endpoints are supported. So that's going to lead you to our API page, which you can go to, which is covalenthq.com/docs/API, but you can get there from the website easily. You don't have to remember that URL. So when you prompt to the page, this is what it looks like. And we've put a lot of effort into basically making this a really accessible page for anyone to use. So it should be easy to understand, even if you're not coming from a Web3 background. And one thing to look at is the global settings bar. So you can see all the different chains we support up here. Currently it's about 28. And then you can also format the response currency that you want to get your data response in. And you could switch between those different modes up here as well. So I'm just going to go through what some of the endpoints look like. Basically, we just added support for Solana on our balances endpoint. So if you go to any of the endpoints here, you're going to see a little bit more information, what the response looks like, what the curl address looks like. Then you can actually click run, which I did for this one. Oops. It zoomed out, sorry. But then you're basically just going to be able to see what that response actually looks like directly in the docs. This is also where you can download CSV files too. So if you click over here, we batch our endpoints into Class A, Class B, and then coming soon we're actually going to be focused on Class C, which are community built endpoints. So Class A, these apply across any of those different chains that we index, and they're broadly kind of categorized into balances, NFTs, transactions, and then base endpoints. So these are things like get block heights, any of the log events. Again, for those bounties, these are what you'd be using. And for NFTs, we actually recently added 2 new endpoints, which are Market Global View, and then you can drill down into a particular collection. So the benefit of indexing all the chains in one place is that we can actually aggregate blockchain data to provide like volume-weighted market caps of NFT collections and things like that. So I would definitely check these out on your own time too. I'm probably not going to go through all of them, but then, yeah, if you want to click any of these to try them live, you can basically just click run right here. I hope the Wi-Fi is good enough to do this. Yeah, it is, okay. And then you can switch between this analyst and developer mode, and you can see that you can get a spreadsheet like that, which you can quickly input into your apps. Or if you're not building apps, you can input those into tools like Tableau, Power BI, really anything you want. So yeah, sorry, I keep zooming. The second class is Class B, and then these are protocol specific. So these are just kind of some shortcuts for things like Uniswap, PancakeSwap, some different DEXs that we support. And then one I just want to highlight here are XY=K. So with XY=K endpoints, a lot of different decentralized exchanges are forked off of the Uniswap v2 framework. So we can actually get data for pretty much all of those. You can click through this list and see what's supported. But you can also use the drop-down here. Because they all have the same architecture, we can actually get data in the exact same format for all of those different DEXs. So the XY=K endpoint's really, really powerful for any sort of DEX information that you're looking for. And yeah, I would recommend checking this one out for sure as well. Yeah, so I wanted to quickly show the replit as well. These are some of our templates that you can use if you're hacking this weekend, or if you just want to get started and see what they look like. You can go to Covalent Replit, and some things we have on here are the like an NFT dashboard template where you can make your own custom collection dashboard. We have a DEX analytics template, a wallet dashboard. So if you're really new to crypto, or if you're in Web 2 and you want to experiment with these tools, this is also a good place to start. Replit is super user-friendly, but we're also moving more of these projects onto GitHub as well, and trying to make that experience as easy as possible. So in general, I think the trend of this is like faster, better, cheaper, and making this process easy for developers. So if you're interested, come check us out. You can also ask us questions at our Covalent booth. Yeah, it's on the second floor right at the beginning. And I know I'm a bit early, but I guess we can ask a couple questions now, if that's good. Okay, yeah, thanks.